Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Superficial Spirit, here again to inspire the billions of people around the world with my favorite muscle daddy. And also, did you recently dress up as Mario?
Well, no. So I was working out with my friend at the gym downtown, where all the hot gay guys go to put on, you know, gym outfits and be photographed or take selfies or whatever, which I don't usually go to.
Be
And
photographed by the paparazzi?
no, but they take mirror selfies in like hot looking gym getups, you know what I mean? Which I don't usually do. I'm usually just I go in a tank top and shorts. But so I went there and like the hottest guy ever. I think he's the hottest guy in town, and I've known him for a while. But he's just like, oh my god, he's so hot. We said hi to him, and he said, "Oh my god, you look like jacked Mario." And I was like, "Say no more, fam. I'm gonna run with that." And so I've been leaning into it. So the other day in the gym when I took that picture, I like intentionally I got a red hat to wear and I wore my red tank top and some blue shorts. And I've
Love
had a
it.
mustache now for months, right? So I was like, I am Jacked Mario.
That's cool. I remember seeing the picture.
If
That's a
he told me
pretty
I looked
like.
good in if he told me I looked good in just like some taped together potato chip bags, I would wear that.
Out of curiosity, what is your like ideal super hot guy that when you see you're like, damn?
Um, Ginger, body
Mhm.
like an underwear model, handsome in the face. you know, pretty basic, pretty straightforward. Now, this doesn't mean it's my only. We've talked about this. It's not the only thing I like, right? And my dating
Mhm.
history doesn't just all look like that. But if I could build one, if I could make him out of the clay of the gods, he would be that.
So kind of like Archie on Riverdale, because he's
Sure. I
fucking
mean, I don't.
hot. What's his name? AJ Kappa or
AJ Appa or
something?
KJ Appa or something.
KJ
KJ is it?
Appa. I
Okay,
think it's
yeah, I don't
KJ.
know. I don't watch the
He's a
show.
hot
I mean,
ginger. He is
yeah,
a
he's hot for
hot.
sure, and yeah, he's hot, and I've seen the body or whatever. Actually, I've actually seen him at the gym in Vancouver. He goes to Equinox, and apparently he's not very
What?
friendly. Yeah, apparently he's not very nice. I just saw him, like I wasn't near him or anything. I just saw that he was there. Yeah, he's super hot, but like I don't know, his face doesn't do it for me. I don't find him attractive.
He is super like I remember when they were casting that show, I was still an agent in Vancouver and I remember talking to the casting director of that show and he's like, I need to find they were having such a hard time casting that role. And it got to the point where the breakdowns that were coming out were like, I don't care if they can act, I don't care what their experience is. I need a hot redhead. And I actually think that he's not a redhead, but they dyed his hair.
That's right.
So this is what I remember about him. But he recently had a what is it called? Not Abercrombie Fitch, Lacoste maybe. And the ad is like him running in his underwear, which
Oh,
was like kind of hot. Yeah, he's okay. I'm not like I don't know. He didn't have a very juicy butt, and you know me.
mm-hmm.
It was just
Yeah.
like kind of disappointing. Like why do you guys do that? Like if you're gonna go to the gym, do your whole body yada yada, honey. You need to
You
balance
know,
it.
I think there are some straight guys who think doing legs and butt, especially
Is
butt,
gay.
is gay. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I always
Uh,
wondered that, like, what is there? We talked about this with the Hot Dumb Bros account, like the way that a straight guy would not be aware of necessarily what other people find what a gay guy would find attractive, but I guess the other side of that is being hyper aware of it at the gym and being like, if I get too nice of a butt, then I'm gonna be like attracting all the boys to the yard, you
I
know?
don't think it's being afraid to attract gay guys. I think it's being afraid of other straight guys calling them gay.
Mm.
Oh, you do butt? You like butts then? You like man butt? Are you gay? Like I don't know, some bullshit, some exhausting heterosexual bullshit like that.
I wish that was the only thing that they needed to be gay.
There's
That
that
would
whole
be
thing about
nice.
like about how gay or straight guys like don't clean their asshole, like they don't wipe or they barely wipe because they don't want to touch. You know that like it's some
Uh,
bullshit like that. Something just
I,
pathetic.
I read something about this on Reddit once. This woman was like trying to find a way to convince her husband to like wash his penis and butt because he just didn't. And she would like leave wipes in the bathroom and stuff. But it was
Oh God.
nasty. And like I think that it's pretty crazy to think somebody wouldn't clean their body because like it's not even because other people would know necessarily. Like a person at that you walk by on the street is not going to know that necessarily. And that's an extreme, like, masculine fragility thing.
I
It's
know.
insane.
Just imagine being so afraid that cleaning yourself in private could make you gay. Like how? Imagine being so afraid of being either labeled gay or of actually being gay. I mean, you would have to already be gay to be worried about that. You'd have to be trying to hide the fact that you're
Oh
already gay.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's like the whole trope of the most homophobic people maybe are compensating for the fact that there are some feelings that they haven't explored. Like the guy who used to bully me in fucking high school, and when I was old enough to go to the bar, and he kept following me to the fucking bathroom, and I was like, "Why are you following me to the bathroom?" And he said he thought I was hot, and he like kissed me in the bathroom, and then we hooked up in the alley.
Wow.
Like that whole, wow, you literally teased me for like 5 years and made my life hell, and it's actually just because you wanted to fuck me. So
Your
there
life
was
is a
a we could have dealt with this in a different way, honey. We didn't have to
certainly
do that.
a different way. The aggression would have just had a different flavor. Your life is a Ryan Murphy show.
I fucking wish.
You know that there's surely you've heard of the famous study where they presented like just a selection of however many gay men or not gay men of any description identifying both ways, and some who were very homophobic. They presented all these people with gay porn, and the people who had the strongest physiological response, like their heart rates, their pulses increased, was the guys who were the most homophobic.
Wait, did the strong physical response? What does
It
that mean?
correlated
That
with, or it was they were measuring arousal. Yeah, they were measuring arousal.
they were into it. Also, there is something like I went to film school, VFS, with a girl who was really turned on by gay porn and like guys kissing. And I just went to a movie a couple weeks ago with a friend who is gay who said that he's recently been really into women and he's been watching porn that's very focused on the female body. And he was all confused about it. And I think that there are sometimes you could be turned on by something, but that is outside of your sexuality for various reasons. And those guys may not actually be gay, but they may find something about it sexy. Like,
Well, that they were studying the markers that go on in your body when you experience sexual excitement, basically.
mhm.
So while it may not be maybe they weren't gay, but they certainly were experiencing same sex attraction because that was the point of the study.
This is my favorite topic: straight guys and gay sex.
I
That's
don't
an
find the fantasy that so many gay guys have of like of being with straight guys or making straight guys like do gay stuff. I don't find that exciting.
I think it's problematic. And like when I went, and I'll tell you why, because I think it opens the doors for gay guys to put themselves in very dangerous situations where they think they could potentially be, like convince somebody or seduce them. Like when I moved to Vancouver and I was in film school, early 20s, everybody I knew was in early 20s. I was partying a lot. I hooked up with a lot of guys that identified as straight. They were young, they were experiencing, it was just like something that happened, making out, maybe a little bit more, and it was in the sense of exploration. And I think that was a shared experience, and I understood that. I didn't think that I would wake up and become their boyfriends. And a lot of them were really good friends of mine, and it was just something that happened. And I think this does happen for guys just like it happens for girls, but we are more comfortable with like, oh, she experimented in college. I think guys do too. But that also changes with age. And I've spent many nights partying where there was like a guy there who wasn't gay that I was super attracted to. And in my mind, because of porn, because of this narrative, it's like you think there is a time and a place where it can happen, and all you have to do is like say the right thing or do the right thing, or like flirt in just the right way that isn't too aggressive, or like putting them. But it's not true. I mean, I often would be like, okay, what if a girl did that to me, and I was at a party and a girl was being super persistent and was like, oh, just come to the bathroom, blah blah blah. And I'd be like, this is a little weird. So I think that it's problematic, and I think that gay porn that sets that precedent that all you have to do is like seduce them is probably put a lot of gay guys in very dangerous situations where it was not something that was reciprocated. And the illusion is an illusion. It's a fantasy, right? It's not real.
Yeah, I think you're right. I never really thought about the safety aspect of it, but that's definitely a factor. I just think it's like I just think it's kind of weird and gross to like fetishize the idea of doing something that, as far as you know, and as far as the person you're trying to seduce knows, is like against their will. Like that creeps me out.
Oh, totally. I mean, that is, I mean, to me, it's two different things. One is like the person, the straight guy becomes open to it, and then you just like hook up because they're like, oh, you know what? I am open to trying. That's one thing. The whole like, I'm not into it, but you're doing it anyway, that I feel like is something separate and is, ooh, that, yeah, that's a little weird.
Yeah, like I feel like there's a difference between, oh, it turns out I'm bisexual and this is cool and I don't have any
Mm
psychological hangups about doing this. But then
hmm.
there's
Mm hmm.
also, the other side is this really is a straight guy who you've sort of coerced into doing something, and he's most likely going to be like really upset about it later. That's
Ooh.
creepy.
That is
Yeah.
creepy, and that's the dangerous part, right? Like nobody wants to be put in
Because
into
there's
that
like
situation.
in the porno fantasy doesn't give you the next chapter of that fallout, of that guilt,
No.
and that like self-hatred that may come from a straight guy doing something that they really didn't want to do. I don't know.
Yeah. This is the warning to all the youths out there. Although I do think that like the spectrum of in terms of the gay community is like I think because we're gotten to a place where we're recognizing a more diverse expression of what a gay guy is. And I think drag race specifically has made feminine guys more sexualized, and it being okay to be into like femi guys. Whereas like when I was in the club, I always felt like a party decoration, like everybody wanted to be around me and I was popular. But very rarely were guys like into boys like me because they wanted muscles and masculinity. And I think that part of our community evolving so that we can accept each other and like let other people be into what they're into maybe would ease the desperation of like trying to find sex in dangerous places or like going to extremes and drugs and alcohol and all that stuff that sort of like opens the door for I'm not seen, I'm not feeling validated or wanted by anybody, so I'm gonna have to like push harder or go further to get it.
Yeah. The whole thing. I mean, it all kind of, as does everything, all kind of circles back to misogyny. The fetishization of straight guys is kind of like, that's a real man. you know if I get to
Hmm.
seduce a straight guy, then like that's it's
Yeah,
all messed up.
twisted. Twisted element. Okay, so
Shout out. Shout outs to the only gay bar in Calgary.
they had two for a while. I mean, that's where I got my start,
It's like they
honey.
always, for a period, they'll have two, and then that one will shut down, and only Twisted
Yeah,
stands the
because
test of
it's a
time, like
gay
Share.
mafia. It's a gay mafia, and the owners would not let any other fucking bar excel. Like, yeah, it was. I when I lived there, there was. Let's see. When I first turned 18, there was Boys Town and Detours. Then
Boys
Boys
Town.
Town shut down. Twisted opened when I was 18 and I partied there basically until I left Calgary. And then after I left, there was one called, oh my God, I don't even remember, but I think it was open for like a year. And I did go to it once, but yeah, there was just too much, I think, drama behind the scenes for them to both thrive. There's
I
definitely
remember
an
going
appetite for it.
Yeah, I remember going to a second one at one Pride. It might have been like Pride 2015 or 16 or something, and there was another one open for that brief period. But it was
Mhm.
so horribly designed inside. It was like, who the fuck? Like, this is a new place that they have designed and opened, and it looks like it's from the 70s. It's tacky as fuck. So I'm not surprised that one
Woo!
didn't last.
So I have been fighting all week about Kathy Hilton versus Lisa Rinna. I didn't anticipate this being such a big deal, but like I have, yeah, been having a lot of like intense conversations, both texting and in the comments on social media. And when I basically, for people who don't watch Housewives, there's like Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I mean, I keep saying we're not a recap show, but I've been talking about it for 3 weeks now, but whatever. So Lisa Rinna is on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She is accusing Kathy Hilton of having this freak out at a club when the cast was in Aspen. The blogs and the tabloids were saying that Kathy Hilton was saying racist and homophobic things. It was not caught on camera. So what you see on the show is basically Lisa Rinna telling everybody, oh my God, Kathy Hilton had this freak out. I was scared for my life. I locked myself into the room and I'm not going to let her get away with this. Lisa Rinna confronts her. She confronts her in front of Kyle, who is Kathy Hilton's sister. And it's like, you know, the drama of the season, basically. And it sort of goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. You never really know exactly what happened because it wasn't on camera, but you know, it's created this division between fans. And when Lisa Rinna was at BravoCon, she got booed when she was going on to the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills panel. When I'm watching this, I'm like rooting for Lisa Rinna because I think Lisa Rinna, for like season after season after season, has been a messy as fuck. She finds the most vulnerable, darkest drama of somebody that she can, and she exploits it and she brings it up and she pushes and she pushes and she pushes, and it creates, in my opinion, really tense TV, really great reality shows, but at the expense of her cast members because they are literally being bullied or being put through the ringer because Lisa Rinna is doing her job, in my opinion, creating drama and pushing a storyline, making herself relevant. She did it with Denise Richards. She did it with Kim Richards. And she's doing it now with Kathy Hilton. So when I'm watching this on TV, I'm like, we have seen this before. This is not fucking new. Why is everybody up in arms? That's one thing. The second thing is when people have so much sympathy and get so upset that a reality star is being put through a really stressful and is not being treated fairly, my brain like gets so worked up because I'm like, they signed up for a reality show. That doesn't mean that you can't have boundaries. It doesn't mean that you can't say, look, I'm on the Housewives, but I don't want you to talk about my kids. I'm on the Housewives, but I don't want you to talk about my finances or my husband. That's fine. They're going to do it anyway. And you can say that you don't like online bullying and people are mean and they're racist and they're coming for the cast members. You can say that that's not okay. It's going to happen anyway. I don't think that it's right. I think that it's toxic as fuck. But there, in my opinion, there has to be some accountability of people who sign on for these shows, knowing what the cast dynamic is, knowing what fans like, and knowing what they're getting paid for, especially when we're talking about people who are already rich and famous. They don't need the money. They don't need to establish themselves. They are literally only going on to it either because they're bored and want to have something to do or because they want more fame and clout. So for Kathy Hilton specifically, I feel like not only has Paris Hilton, her daughter, been in the media for so long and has scandal after scandal after scandal of the press, you know, the sex tape, of them treating her like shit, of them calling her stupid and slut shaming her. And Paris has had so many reality shows and has also complained about, you know, maybe not necessarily about fame because she loves being famous, but, you know, not being treated fairly, but that's part of it, and she keeps doing it, and she's a Hollywood star, and this is her career and this is her legacy. So when somebody like Kathy goes on the show, out of the entire scope of humanity, of the type of person that could sign up for a reality show, she, I think, would have such a personal knowledge and experience of what this can do to your life and what people can do to you once you open up your life to be on TV. That's the other thing. This isn't a competition show. There's no prize money. It's a show about interpersonal relationships, affluent women, and the dynamics between friends and family. How can you then say that family is off limits when literally Kim, Kyle, and Kathy have all been on the show? I do not understand why people are so mad at Rinna for doing this. I don't get it.
Okay, so yeah, I was going to ask, what do you think is the problem here then? Do you think the problem is Kathy Hilton kind of scrambling to keep stuff out of the press and cover it up? Or do you think it's people's, like Twitter's response or your friend's response to like what they're saying about Rinna or something because of it?
I'm confused. Like, I understand when people say it was a low blow. Like, you're saying Kathy Hilton has a problem because she freaked out. She's only human. She's allowed to freak out. That's fine. What I think is concerning or confusing is that these people who are outraged by it and the fans who are outraged by it and hate Lisa Rinna now are under the illusion and delusion that this is real life and that this is something that Kathy Hilton is being subjected to when she signed up for the show. So you can be a fan of Kathy and you can definitely feel like it's bullshit. But when they come for Lisa Rinna for literally just doing her job and doing what she's been doing over and over and over again, it bothers me because I feel like they're delusional about what the Housewives is. And like, you guys know that this is about drama, right? And so how can you dictate the moral compass of a certain cast member? That to me is the problem. It's not the actual situation, because the situation is messy and Lisa Rinna was shady, and poor Kathy Hilton like is being exposed for probably a very vulnerable moment where she didn't anticipate it getting out. Like I totally get that. The fans though, it's like that is what their job is. This is what the show is, exposing these vulnerable situations and exploiting it for entertainment.
Okay. You can have, I think, I don't know. I think you can have your reaction to Rinna though. I mean, just as what Kathy did is fodder for the show, so is Rinna's response, and people can have
Mm-hmm.
whatever response to that they want. I mean, I agree with you that Lisa Rinna has taken this role over the years. She is an instigator and she doesn't let stuff go. And she will spin it up into this big controversy, and that seems to whip up the fans either for her or against her. But I sort of think that's fair. I think you can be on Kathy's side or you can be on Rinna's side, and I don't really care. I do think I see your point though about taking reality TV into the real world in such a way that you start to really harass people in their real lives. It's about, you think about Garcelle's children getting hate. I don't think Lisa Rinna deserves any death threats or whatever. I don't think Kathy Hilton deserves. But there's two sides to it. One, this actually is real life in a certain way. Like this stuff is really happening to these people, so there is an element of real life to it. It does kind of blur the line between stuff that's just within the context of reality TV and stuff that's in the real world. Because stuff that happens on the show is stuff that has consequences in the real world. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Erica's legal situation, I think, wasn't Teresa in a?
Teresa
They've all
Giudice,
they've
yeah.
all been in. Yeah, they've all had fucking legal troubles at some point. So the stuff that happens in real life does get used on the show, and you're allowed to have reactions to that stuff. Um, I think that what Kathy is doing is a new girl thing to do. I think that what Kathy doesn't realize, which I think is the point that you're making, is that when this stuff is presented in the context of entertainment and on the show, there's actually a certain forgiveness that the public doesn't realize they're giving you, but is giving you because it's on TV. TV has this way, entertainment has this way of sort of washing the reality off of things. And most people, I think, most sane people, not the ones who are giving death threats, but most of the sane audience of these shows engages with it in this detached way because it is presented as entertainment. And no one really, these insults, even booing Rinna, even that's part of the entertainment, that's part of the game. And I think
Totally.
she knows that. I think she
Yes.
knows that,
That's why
right?
she gave the
So
finger. It's like going to a sports game and booing the opponents.
yes, and I think I've seen this before. I didn't ever watch any of the seasons with Denise Richards, and I marathoned it yesterday because I have to stay home I can't go to the gym and stuff. I have to stay home for certain reasons. I'm healing a tendonitis, so I was like, what do I do? I'm binging season 10, and so I'm seeing the same thing happen with Denise Richards. Right, she's not used to stuff she doesn't want getting out, and she's starting to scramble to cover it up in the press, in the real world. She's making threats. I'll sue you. All this stuff. That's what Kathy's doing, and I think they probably all start doing that until they've been on the show for a little while, get used to it, and just realize that yes, I can handle this stuff in my real life, but I have to compartmentalize the public response, and I have to give the public, they're going to have whatever reaction they want, and they're allowed to, and I can't control
Mm-hmm.
that. And I just kind of have to go with it. And I can't
Mm.
control their reaction, and I can't control the way this stuff plays out.
Yes. Okay. That is a good point. It's like getting used to what the show is. I'm surprised that fans who've been watching the show for so long just are like, she's gone too far and there are boundaries. To me, there are no boundaries on reality TV show. And this is another thing I want to ask you. Like you brought up Garcelle's children. They got all of these racist comments. Fucking crazy. This poor boy in high school is just getting put through the ringer for no reason. He didn't do anything to deserve this. It's fucking crazy. And his mother is on a reality show. Will probably come back next season. Continues to sign the contract and sign up for it. And one of the points I made to my friend Aaron on the comments on Instagram was, no, Garcelle's kids don't deserve it. And when you're on a reality show, you are really, really opening the door for this type of shit to happen. So Garcelle does have a choice to stop being on the show and protect her kids. She also films with her kids. So I think that is where what I'm talking about, the personal accountability. When these people film with their families and then get mad that their kids get dragged into it, it's like I feel like if you want to be on a reality show and you want to open up your life, the personal accountability that I'm talking about is accepting that unfortunately people are evil. They're going to come for you. They're going to be awful in the comments. They're going to come for your family, and somebody is bound to expose something you don't want to be exposed. And that's the personal accountability. They can all stop filming. If Kyle is so torn up by this, she could stop being on the show. They could all stop. There are lots of famous people who work their fucking hardest to stay out of drama. And then there are people who are constantly trying to stay on top of mind for people. So that's what I'm talking about, accountability. Like, and she brought up Britney. She said, so you think that Britney deserves all of this stuff, that like all of the hate from the media? I don't think that you would feel that way about Britney. And I said, look, if Britney, after all, first of all, she was a child when she signed her record deal. So whether or not she chose that is questionable. But if she did, after all of this shit that Britney has been through, the conservatorship, the years of slut shaming, the paparazzi, the divorces, the people who betrayed her, her family, if next year Britney, who has been talking openly about how much she hates the music industry, decided to go back to music, knowing what she knows about fame, knowing what she knows about the industry, knowing what she knows about how awful it can be, then she is going, I would assume that she's doing it knowing, look, if I go back to this way of living, if I go back to being a pop star in the like traditional sense and touring and releasing music and being a part of that machine, then I also have to accept that at some point the media is probably going to treat me like shit. I'm not going to have privacy and people are going to take advantage of me. And I don't think that's being not fair to Britney. I love Britney, but that's the accountability of pursuing fame, is like you do have to take the good and the bad, I think. And that's the accountability. And I think that's why I get resistant about sympathy, because I'm like, you kind of signed up for it. I'm not saying you deserved it, but if you keep doing it, if you keep coming back on the show over and over and over again, eh, like,
Yeah, I just don't think fans can take it too seriously, and I think you're having arguments with people who are taking it too seriously. You know, I think that if you're in that position, if you're on the show, yeah, I think you take that risk, and I think what you have to know is that you're going to have to get therapy. You might have to send your kids to therapy. You might have to increase your security, right? You might have to pay for private security. You might have to, like Diana is doing, file some lawsuits and investigate some of the harassment, and you're just going to have to do that. And you can't control fans' reactions. You shouldn't be suing each. I mean, unless you could, cast members can sue each other if it's if there's something worth suing. But you can't be you can't be threatening people behind the scenes. Oh, this is going to look really bad for you, Rinna, because I know people in Hollywood and I'm going to get you, because she's just going to leak those DMs, right?
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
totally.
like this is the risk you have to sign up for. And I think you're arguing with people who seem to be like, she can't do that, and I have,
Hmm.
and she's a bad person. It's like, chill. Like, this isn't your life. It's not your life. It is just entertainment at the end of the day.
Thank you,
It's real
Jesus.
life, but it's their real life. you know
Yes, and they signed up for it. Yeah, okay.
yeah, and they signed up for it.
Um, I also wanted to bring up this because this is something that what that I was told several times this week, that I don't care about wealthy people. You just
Hmm.
don't care about any wealthy people. You think that they deserve everything, and it's like, okay, I grew up with a single mom. I've been broke most of my life. I'm not anymore, thank God. I've worked really hard, and I'm getting to a place of financial freedom in a way. But there is definitely deep rooted resentment towards a system because I see people living in a cycle of poverty. So I've brought this up on the show before. I have an anarchist spirit where I'm like, there's a big part of me that's like, burn the system down, fuck the rich people, eat the rich, because the elite are only elite because they oppress the people at the bottom.
Yeah.
So when I'm coming across as like I hate wealthy people, it's not that I don't understand that they're actual people with problems and relationships and the ups and downs of what it means to be human. Hello, I've been so sympathetic about Paris Hilton, Britney Spears, Lindsay Lohan, like these people. I love them. I want them to be happy, and at the same time, I do think having a healthy resentment towards wealthy people in general is actually kind of healthy, because there's a reason why our system is moving to such a big divide between the rich and the poor. And it's because not only do wealthy people get wealthier during times of crisis, we celebrate them and we put them on TV and we all become like BravoCon, thousands and thousands of people waiting to take pictures with billionaires. It's like, there's something wrong with that. I love it, but there's something a little sick about it. So do I hate wealthy people? No, but I think that the anger and the resentment I have inside me is justified because I see what poverty looks like and I have seen it in my real life and I know how hard it is to try and break free from that. That's
Yeah,
an okay thing to feel.
I completely agree. ABAB, right? All billionaires are bastards. It's like people who can't understand that when you say ACAB, like obviously you understand that there are good individual cops, like you can be a good person and a cop, and there are probably even some scrupulous, moral, and ethical cops out there. However, in order to be a cop, like you have to be part of this whole system that really turns you into a bastard. Like the that's the way with billionaires. You can't have become a billionaire without exploiting people. And
Hmm.
what's it's so weird when people simp for billionaires, like when they say
Yeah.
you just don't like rich people. They have feelings too. It's like, yeah, they do, but they would run you the fuck over with their car. They hate you. They want you to starve and die. Like you personally, the person defending this billionaire right now, like you, the Elon Musk fan, he wants you to die of COVID. He does. That's what he wants. He fucking hates you. Do you know what I mean? Like he hates you. He would piss and shit. He probably wouldn't even bother to piss and shit on you if you're on fire.
Yeah.
Like if you were working for him, he would. If you were sick, he would make you go to work. Right? He legislated people back to work. I mean, there's just these people can't get rich without exploitation. So I don't get it. I don't get why average regular people are concerned with the feelings of billionaires who would literally who have sold them out in so many ways already, countless ways, jacking up the prices of prescription drugs. You name it. The stuff goes on and on. Hoarding
Yeah.
wealth, right? Only donating it for tax breaks to worthy causes. It goes on and on and on.
Yeah. I don't understand that people are not aware of that. And Evan and I have talked about this a lot. Like politics and social causes, like people get really fired up about like street names and statues and gender and like bathrooms and things like that. Not to say that those aren't important issues, because they are, and we need to tackle them. But imagine all of the imagine all of the regular people and poor people. We united over the fact that we actually need to go after the elite, not, and then deal with everything else, because the one thing we all have in common is that we're a part of a system of oppression, and until we can actually unify and we're not divided, how do we actually conquer that? And a lot of these celebrities, like, as I grow and as I get older and as I do this show and I explore how pop culture has affected me, one of the things I'm really conflicted by is that I was spoon fed an illusion of like, and anybody can be famous, anybody can be a star, follow your dreams, and anything can happen. That's not true. I do think it is possible, because I do know people who are living their dreams. I do know people have become famous. It's not that it's impossible, but you can't have every single millennial on the planet becoming a pop star. It's just not the way that it works. So I have resentment about that message. I also feel conflicted about the fact that I have been idolizing people who are part of a class and really don't care about me at all. Like Paris Hilton might love her fans because they give her attention and they make her feel validated. She's never going to give up her money. She's never going to help people who are in need. Oh, but she donates. Oprah donates money. Oprah gave $1 million to blah, blah, blah. She still is a billionaire. She still has multiple houses. Like, unless you're willing to give away all of your money, like, if the elite could literally join forces and literally eliminate homelessness, hunger, disease, well, maybe not disease, but our society could certainly be structured different if these people actually were willing to level the playing fields, but they're not. Yet we continue to idolize them. Kardashian, same way. Sure, they make you feel happy. Sure, they're exposing their lives. Sure, whatever. Their Kardashians are like beloved. They're American royalty. But they are not concerned really about anybody but themselves.
No, and they prove this time and time again, right? They say stuff, especially Elon Musk on Twitter says stuff that makes it clear he thinks that poor people are fat because they made bad choices and they're poor because they made bad choices, despite the fact that this idiot inherited an emerald mine and just kind of went from there, right? And seems to have no particular skill. People credit him with inventing things. He really doesn't seem to have done anything except invest, right? So this is just all stuff that's circumstances of your birth, right? But people who are rich and people who idolize the rich tell themselves that it's because they're geniuses and they've made some smart decisions. That's not the case, right? I mean, think of all the times. I mean, I can think of, maybe not everyone has this experience, but I can think of a number of times in my life where if not for having parents who have been comfortable and stable, I would have been fucked. Like if I couldn't borrow money to pay rent from my mom, or not even borrow
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, I would
Mm-hmm.
just have been fucked. And yes,
Yep.
maybe like necessity breeds invention, right? Maybe I would have just gotten a better job or worked 2 jobs or worked 3 jobs, whatever the fuck it took. I may have done that. But you have to understand my ability to do that comes from the fact that I'm clean and white and privileged in a number of ways. I don't look homeless, right? And the only reason I don't look homeless is because I started in a higher place than people who
Mm-hmm.
started in a lower place financially and
Mm-hmm.
socioeconomically. The only reason I have the ability to get more jobs and to just walk into something that would improve my circumstances is not because I'm better. It's not because I'm smarter. It's because I just look a certain way and I've been able to grow up relatively clean with like the comfort of being able to learn good manners and social graces. That's
Mm-hmm.
literally it. That's the only thing
Mm-hmm.
that's kept me off the street in some cases. And
Mm-hmm.
lucky for me, I didn't have to break my ass working 3 jobs because oftentimes I could just get money from my parents. But what's driving me crazy right now, and this segues into our other topic, is that in Vancouver, we've just elected a mayor who got elected on a tough on crime policy. He wants to hire 100 new police. He talked big about cleaning up East Hastings, where people are tenting. Like it's crazy. I was just down there yesterday. The tenting on East Hastings in Vancouver, the homelessness it's really, really hard to look at. But elected him because he said, we're going to clean up these streets. We're going to police them more. This is a nasty eyesore we want cleaned up. And then I hear my friends saying stuff like, "Yeah, we voted for him because I'm just like sick of looking at these bad people that made these bad choices." And I'm like, they didn't like 99% of the people out there didn't make any choices to lead them here. They say, "Oh, they're doing drugs." Do you understand why people who are in these situations do drugs? It's because when you get $675 a month from the government and 375 of that goes to shelter, if you're lucky enough to even have shelter, because that's the shelter rate, the rest of that money, you're not going to save $200 to go to Safeway and buy expensive groceries and put them where? Where are you going to put them? In your little half fridge? Like when you feel like shit, when the world has made you feel like shit, when it has told you you're not worth food and shelter and warmth and just a clean surrounding, clean drinking water, a bed to sleep on, a roof over your head, you know what fucking feels good? Meth.
Yeah.
It's true. This is the reason people on the street get into drugs. What are you going to do? Save your money? You can't. You spend all your money anyway. That 20, $30 you have left over, you're not going to squirrel that away and get a fucking 6 boxes of granola bars. You're going to buy a rock because it feels fucking good and nothing else does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And these
that's
people are
heavy.
not there because of bad choices. They're there because they didn't have parents they could borrow money from. A lot of these people, it's a cycle of poverty, right?
Yes.
Some of these people, they were literally just born to parents already in that situation. So they weren't
Yep.
able to learn what it's like to integrate with society, not able to learn job skills, not able to go to school, not able to. This is literally just the life they know. And the children, they end up in foster care. They end up taken away from their parents. The impact that has on your life is significant, right? You don't
Yep.
have anyone you can rely on in that case. You circulate through foster family shit like that. I mean, this is almost never a result of bad choices because you were a regular person living your life in a house looking like me and just decided, I think I'll try meth.
Yeah.
And then just like, oh, this is awesome. I'll just spend all my money on it. And then you end up on the street. That's not how that fucking works.
Yeah. Woo. I've always felt like s- the cycle of poverty is real. I've seen it in real life. And I think that whole messaging of if you made better choices, you wouldn't be there is something, it is sort of like the gap that we need to fix because that is the messaging that comes from above. You're poor, like if you're poor, it's your fault and you actually need to be punished for that. Um, Derek, they do not understand, I think, that reality because I don't know if it's too much to comprehend or accept because accepting that these people were actually just oppressed and a victim of a system means that they're part of it. And if you're not there, then in some way, either directly or indirectly, you are benefiting from it. And it's sad and it's scary. And also, like a lot of I used to live in Gastown. Okay, I was right like 2 blocks away from East Hastings. When I lived in Vancouver, I actually stopped seeing poverty because I was, and when I mean I don't see it, I mean I was so used to seeing it on my way to work, on my way to party, that you become desensitized to it. And I lived with people in the similar building who just hated it. They hated seeing people shooting up. They hated people being dirty. They hated people. I live in a neighborhood now where it is fucking chaotic in the summer. There is a lot of homeless people in my area. And I would be lying if I didn't say sometimes I don't walk through the neighborhood and I'm like, damn, this is gross. Because sometimes it is, but that doesn't mean it's their fault. And I
Yeah, it's gross.
also, yeah, it is. Especially when it's like super hot and they can't bathe and it's like 40 degrees and they're living in a tent in a public park. It's such a simple issue to like solve, but also a very complicated issue because it involves so many layers of acceptance and accountability from a wide net of people that are required to make this systemic change,
Yeah.
and it's only getting worse. And I do think, like, look, I have experience in recovery communities, so I have seen what something like meth can do. But you bring up a really good point because there are white gay guys I know who've struggled with meth addiction for years and years and years, but they've never been homeless because
Yeah.
it would take so much for somebody like me or you to to get to such a desperate point that there were absolutely no resources left and we were actually on the street. Like, there's just too much available to us. Even me coming from a single, my mom is not rich by any stretch of the imagination, but she saved my ass multiple times, thankfully. Like, same with you, paying my rent, helping me pay bills, like whatever I needed, she was there. But if I had been born to a family that didn't have that, then I struggled with substance abuse. My life could have gone in a very dark and dangerous direction too, but I had a safety net over and over and over and over again to save me. And if you don't have that, you actually can get there pretty quickly. I mean, with no options and no help, you only spiral. You only go further down the ladder. And once you are that low on the ranking order of what society deems valuable, you can't get a job if you don't have a address. You can't get a bank account if you don't have money. Um, there's like a crisis. There are no physical places for these people to go. There isn't enough infrastructure in place. So really, there are no options. And yeah,
There
I
aren't.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, a lot of the conversations I have about this seem to be that people are sympathetic in the sense that they wish it wasn't there. Um, and I think people are conflicted about whether or not it is a personal lifestyle that takes somebody to the streets um, and and makes them homeless versus it being systemic. Um, it's a hard thing for people to accept. That's the general feedback I get when I talk about it in my life, is like, it's sad, yeah, we need to do something about it. Anyway, did you watch Housewives? Like,
Yeah.
it's too and it's getting worse, so I
Well,
don't
and
know.
and like people, these there isn't space. There aren't resources, right? You think, oh well, you know what? I've seen food banks. I've seen shelters. You can stay overnight in a shelter. Why don't you just do that and then work really hard and get a job, clean yourself up, go to a public restroom and wash your face in the sink. They're full. They're full. The shelter is full. The public restroom is full. There's no affordable housing to put you into because it's fucking full. You have $675 for free from the government for welfare. What do you do with it? I'll tell you what, you don't buy it. You don't buy a backpack full of groceries. You're gonna have to carry that shit around. What do you do with it? What do you do with your 675? You can't sleep anywhere. Yeah, there's a
Oh
food
my
bank, so you
god.
get some food. You get some food for free. So you're fed for free because you went to the food. You went to the Carnegie that day because the line wasn't so busy that you were actually able to get some fucking food. What do you do with your 675? Like you fucking buy you get high. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
you have to
they're
cope in some
full.
way.
Everything's
when
full.
when Evan and I first moved to Toronto, we lived with his parents for, I
Well,
think,
just
about
save it. You don't have a fucking bank account. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, when we moved out, let's see, our rent was 2,500, so we needed first and last month's rent, which was $5,000,
Mhm.
and then the expense, like the cost of moving, getting furniture and stuff like that. So easily. six, seven, eight, $10,000. So if you think about making $675 and then you think of how big of a gap it is from that, using that money to just live and cope and do what you need to get through the day, to the point where you can afford $5,000 first and last month's rent, is like, it's impossible.
There's just
And
nothing you can do with that amount of money. If you're not using the 375 that is portioned for rent, if you're not set up with some way to do that, you're not you're just not doing anything with that amount of money. You literally can't do anything. Like, okay, save it. And then what? Save $200-300 at a time for to what, buy a house in 6,000 years? Like, what, for what? Yeah, sure. Maybe they can buy food. Maybe they do. And do you know what kind of food they buy? They buy chips from the 7-Eleven.
yeah,
Maybe they can
Slurpees.
treat themselves to fast food. Maybe they can treat themselves to some Tim Hortons. It's,
Yeah.
you're not saving anything. You're not putting anything. You're not putting food in the pantry. You know,
We are comfortable though, like when it comes to buying a house, everybody has kind of gotten to this place where, we can all kind of accept that it's not really realistic, even though I might be able to buy something in a few years. But we've all kind of accepted, and I mean people our age, you and Jess and I have talked about this. The whole dream of buying a house has changed a lot, and it's not realistic for some people. And we're okay generally with that. It's like, the expectation has gone down for people to buy homes because everybody can agree it's gotten too expensive and people aren't making enough money. So we are comfortable enough to talk about that part of, wealth disparity and economy and sociology. We're comfortable with that, but we're not
Mhm.
comfortable with the homeless. And also, how does the average person affect change? Now, this is the other thing that I struggle with, is like, I don't believe, it's so dark and it's so sad and I hate admitting it, but like, I don't have a lot of faith in humanity. I don't have a lot of faith in like organizations, because I think power corrupts. And even if you're a good person now and you have intentions to be a good politician or a good celebrity or a good rich person, and if I was to become a billionaire tomorrow, I will probably become a fucking freak. And in some way, empathy goes out the window when you realize, wow, I don't need anybody or anything and I can do whatever the fuck I want. I struggle with, like, can we actually affect change, like to actually uproot this system and society and change it so that it is a more equal playing field? Is that actually possible? Like, really, really, is it? Are we going to get to a place in North America where there is no homelessness, where there is equality, where everybody is having their basic needs met in a real way?
Will we? I don't know. Is it possible? Extremely. That's the weird thing. It's extremely possible. But if people continue to have reactionary political attitudes towards stuff like this, to think it's a matter of personal responsibility, and to think every dollar that they've managed to scrape together, or every amount of wealth they've managed to accumulate, is because of their, you know, is because of their virtues, not because of the circumstances of their birth, and a number of factors that are not just because they're more worthy humans. Like, I don't know if people keep voting that way, it wouldn't happen, right? If we keep,
Yeah.
I mean, I can say that, like, it's clear that, anyone can see that our politics as a society is sliding left, right? Progress is happening slowly. Um, Status quo, Democrats and liberals are shifting to more. They have more progressive policies on things like climate change, student debt, queer issues. All that stuff is sliding in a progressive direction, and it will do. And if the world is still around in 100 years, maybe things for like homelessness and poverty will have improved somewhat. But I don't. I don't. It would take a long time of that Overton window creeping left, I think. Those answers, they're available. These solutions are available to us right now. There are policies we could do right now, let's say in a place like Vancouver, that would house all the homeless like that. Um, we saw that in the pandemic, right? Hotels
Hmm.
that weren't being used were then being, they weren't being rented out by people to stay in. They were being used to house the homeless. So we can house the homeless. Um, it would it would just take some political will in City Hall. Right now, I mean, like, the problem with that is we've just elected a mayor who is going to be friendly to private business, who wants the free market to increase the supply. Well, sure. That will increase supply, likely for the rich, likely for the perhaps the upper middle class, and then that may take pressure off of lower end rentals. But then what will happen? Well, the price of lower end rentals will come up. Without targeted, purpose built low income housing, this isn't possible, and there isn't enough of that going on. And all you would have to do is prioritize it politically, right?
Wow.
It's not that
And
complicated, honestly.
that's what I mean when I said it's a simple solution, but
And what people don't know, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but what people don't realize is that statistically, and this isn't bleeding heart shit, it's science, right? This is sociological data at this point. How simply housing people can give them
mhm.
the sense of self-worth and dignity
Yeah.
required to make the investments in their lives, like, I don't fucking know, putting away $100 a month to buy a nice new suit and shave their face, and they'll have access to their own private bathroom in such a place, and they can wash themselves up, and they can start to learn how to integrate with society, and then maybe go get a job. This stuff gives you the basic human dignity required to do that, and that is proven. If you can throw somebody into shelter, this process will begin for them, and they will start getting off of drugs. And you keep rehab services in that building. There's wraparound social services in the supportive housing building. They will go to those meetings, right? They will get themselves clean and sober, and they will take their pills, right? And they will get their mental health services, and they will engage with community activities in that space with the people who are living there, and they will learn how to become social, right? This is data, right? It's not bleeding heart shit. So we know that if you just do that, that's what happens, right? I mean, obviously, some people just need mental health treatment in a hospital, and that's a thing. That's obviously
But
too
that's
little of.
hard. Like if you are navigating the public system, if you're waiting for free mental health services, you're going to be waiting a long time. When I moved to Toronto and I wanted to go get like I I had a therapist that was on a sliding scale, but I was really struggling from mood swings, and my doctor was like, "We should get like a more thorough thing." And there's something called CAMH, with Center for Addiction and Mental Health. I think I waited 6 months.
Yeah,
I had the clarity, confidence, and support to. I had a family doctor. I had like Evan and my family to help me support that. So if you're on your own and you're trying to navigate this, it can take a long time. I've also seen people that I know, wait 6 months for a therapist, and then the therapist cancels on them, and then
yeah,
they have to wait another 6 months, and it's like, or you're waiting for a public defender to help you with something in court, and you work with them for a few months on your case, and then they get pulled in a different direction. You have to start all over with somebody else. It's not easy to navigate. And one of the best things that I heard when defund the police started, and became a popular topic on social media, and, well, I guess in general, over the pandemic, was it was hard for people to understand what that meant, and all they heard was taking away money from police, and we're not going to be safe anymore. Well, what happens if somebody robs your house? What happens if somebody gets raped? What happens if somebody gets murdered? Who are you going to call if there's no police? But the best explanation I heard was let's imagine, when you call 911 right now, is it for police or is it for fire? It's the first thing that they ask you. Or medical. You press 1, 2, or 3, it takes you to the operator and you get your help. What if there was an option for mental health? And you could call and you see somebody on the street, butt naked, dirty, screaming, having some sort of psychosis. If you call the police now, they get arrested and go to jail, or they get arrested and go downtown, or nothing happens. But if you could call somebody and there was social workers who came and helped them, that would help so much. One, it would give the public an option. They could encounter these things and then have the confidence and clarity to deal with it in real time, instead of avoiding it and it becoming sort of like this hush hush dark secret. And two, it gives people who are in the vulnerable positions some hope. Like, maybe there is people out there who can help. Maybe the system finally is open for me and I actually can. Because if you are somebody who needs social assistance for your whole life, either because of mental health, addiction, whatever it may be, and that's something that you need long term as a strategy to keep you healthy and safe and happy, then it requires resources and it requires a system that is going to set you up for success, right? Like, you shouldn't have to struggle to find support every 6 months, but that doesn't exist right now. So even if you're lucky enough to get support for a small period of time, it's eventually going to run up because it's public and you only get a certain amount of time to get better. And then you're kind of on your own again. And we know that mental health and addiction, like the statistics for long-term sobriety are so low. it's so fucking hard to stay sober for your whole life. And it's also really hard to stay healthy and medicated if you are at a lack of resources and you don't have the emotional support to get the medicine, or just have somebody to talk to and be encouraged to be healthy. These systems aren't in place. So getting into the free and clear for some people is not even just really far away. It's like impossible to fathom.
No, and another barrier between them and doing that, Peter, is encounters with the fucking police. An encounter with the police is traumatic. Over policing, first of all, think about policing in impoverished neighborhoods. We're literally criminalizing people for being poor. I mean, if you followed your and my discussion up to this point, Peter, then hopefully you understand that being poor is like a matter of circumstance. It's usually a matter of luck. It's not a matter of having a fucking crime bone in your brain, right? Or being born as, it's not a crime gene. It's because you're literally just poor and you engage in some of this stuff because you're poor. So you have mental health problems, right? Encounters with police exacerbate all these problems. So over policing in these neighborhoods is creating more crime. This is statistically shown as well. This is data. This is not bleeding heart shit. Encounters with police are traumatic. They make you want to drink. They make you want to take drugs. And they remove policing, criminalizing poor people, removes them from families, removes them from communities. Those are statistics which add up to increased crime as well, right? So, Mayor of Vancouver wants to hire another 100 police for the downtown east side. Oh, and he'll hire another 100 mental health nurses. Meanwhile, it's impossible to hire any healthcare workers right now. But just don't worry about that.
Why?
Policing,
Why?
policing.
Why is it impossible?
Well, the pandemic. No one, you know that all healthcare is understaffed right now, right? It's
Yeah.
impossible to hire new nurses at the moment. So how are you going to hire? First of all, mental health
Because there's
is not a job.
nobody
I don't know
to
who's gonna do
hire.
that. There's no one to hire, so I don't know where he thinks he's going to get these quote unquote mental health nurses from, which is not a designation nurses have. Sure, maybe he's talking about nurses who are qualified in social work, whatever, it doesn't matter. He's never going to be able to do it. He is going to be able to hire 100 cops, I'm guessing. So great. So we're going to increase policing in this neighborhood, remove people from their families. They're already impoverished, already disadvantaged families, remove people from communities. We're going to traumatize them more with police encounters every time, they're having some sort of mental health episode, totally benign, not hurting anyone, right? So, okay, like, fuck me, fuck my drag.
Fuck my drag. Who do you think matters more in a situation where, like, let's say this situation, a normal person, and when I say normal, I mean they either rent or own, they have a job, they're healthy, blah, 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 they're stable, is walking down the street and they have an encounter with somebody who's experiencing homelessness. And there is some kind of encounter that is not safe for the person who is not homeless, right?
Well, I'd say whoever's like in physical danger is more important in that scenario. Yeah. But
Who
I mean,
is
I think the
more,
response, sorry, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, in the argument of like, yes, those people need support, the homeless people, but I have the right to live in a neighborhood where people aren't shooting up on the streets, and I don't want to have to, and I should be able to take my kids to a park without needles being on the ground, or a homeless person with a knife, which actually happened to me once in Vancouver. That to me is also like what gets priority: people who are stable but aren't feeling safe, and people who are homeless and vulnerable but are doing risky behaviors in public.
Well, that's complicated, but suppose that you moved into an area where this was already kind of the case, which the downtown east side and Gastown, like Gastown's
Yeah.
was at one point a desirable place to live. Now it's basically overrun. But you did move to Gastown, right? You did move to a neighborhood where this was already happening on the streets, and now it's just become more entrenched. So who has the right there? Maybe you shouldn't have gentrified like an impoverished neighborhood. Maybe maybe you shouldn't have moved there. There were already people on the street there. Um, let's say it spreads into a community where this like wasn't the case, where you couldn't have reasonably predicted that like you were going to be exposed to this stuff. And that's kind of the case in Vancouver right now. There are people getting assaulted in Kitsilano. There's people getting, this is random attacks are happening everywhere. Peter, you watch the news in BC right now, Peter, which I mean, you wouldn't have done for years, but let me tell you, every goddamn day, there's another random assault. Someone just shoves a woman on the street. People be getting stabbed in nice neighborhoods. Like it's happening. So let's say that's the case. So what do we do about there? Well, that is what policing is for, right? So the response, I think, to the case, this stuff wouldn't be happening quite as much. I mean, there will always be random attacks. There will always be random violence, probably. But we could start solving these problems at the root cause. Policing is something that has to exist. I've never said get rid of police either. Police have to exist to deal with violent crime in some way, right? But we could start reducing the violent crime, not by policing it more, but by providing services, housing, mental
Mhm.
health, services, um, wraparound services in supportive housing, all that stuff, right? So the question of like, what do we do right now? Well, yeah, right now we call the police, but we could start reducing these instances of that happening by treating the root cause and not by policing them.
I also like that we kind of had a full circle moment because you said, if you choose to move into that neighborhood, it kind of comes with the territory. And that's exactly what I think about Kathy Hilton. She moved into the neighborhood, honey. And now you in danger, girl.
Yeah,
You in
she
danger, girl.
moved into that Beverly Hills neighborhood of gossip.
Yes. Okay. Let's end with the Kathy Hilton fucking full circle moment. That was an intense episode. I'm really happy that we can explore all topics. And let's see, what is the spiritual component of social injustice? Hmm. Well, I guess it's like the opportunity for us to all heal and see ourselves in humanity and see ourselves in the person who is vulnerable and homeless and struggling. And if you can have enough empathy and you actually do believe we're all connected, then maybe we can move closer to a solution. See, everything is spiritual, people.
It's the great collective intelligence, Peter. We are one.
We are one. Thank you.
Hey, wait. Oh my God.
What?
We didn't introduce me with a Housewives tagline, and I worked on it all week.
Oh my God, fuck. I didn't work on mine. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. I may be a skin bag filled with spiders, but I'm always real.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Okay.
That went through several
That's
iterations. I workshopped it.
It's kind of spooky. Good for Halloween.
Happy
A
Halloween,
skin
bitch.
bag filled with spiders, ladies and gentlemen. If that's not insight into how Derek's mind works, I don't know what else is. Now I'm gonna have to think of one for next week. My one before was life's a party, and I'm always on the list.
Yeah, that's perfect.
But now I only go out once a year, so womp womp. I'll think of one for next week.
Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. Hate me because I'm a sand golem held together with a dark spell.
I don't even know what a sand golem is.
Just like a golem is like a living creature made of other stuff.
One of my favorite
Sand,
ones is
frogs.
from Salt Lake City. I was raised Mormon, but now I'm raising a glass of champagne.
Stupid. I love it.
Or jealousy is a disease, to which I say, get well soon. Oh my God, it's so good.
I'm 90% plastic, but I'm 100% real.
Long may they reign, the real housewives. Okay, that's enough. I'm stopping.
Okay.